Today's topic, I turned Power Grid into a game about harvesting sea cucumbers. Welcome to another episode of TABLEscraps, in which we present a topic related to tabletop gaming and then have a brief conversation about it with the live audience. Let's not waste any more time listening to this weird intro music. Let's get right into today's discussion. Hey there everyone, and welcome to another episode of TABLEscraps, the experimental month-long series that we're doing live with the YouTube chat, where we're going to discuss a topic about tabletop gaming, and then we're going to go to the live streaming chat and find out what they have to say about it. And today's topic, like all topics that we discussed during this series, was sent in to us by a viewer just like you on our Board Game Geek forum. If you have a suggestion for a topic, please post it on the Board Game Geek forum and we will add it to our list of potential topics for the show. But today's topic comes to us from Christian Gieithner, who asks, all games are abstracts at their core. You can retheme everything. Blatant lie or hard truth? I see what you're trying to do there, Christian. You are trying to trick me into saying that it is a blatant lie. You're trying to trick me into saying that, no, there are some games that you could not retheme. Some games where the theme is so central to the gameplay that it must be that theme and only that theme. Well, to that, sir, I wholeheartedly disagree. And I'll tell you why. My feeling is that, no, theme is not married to the game's mechanisms. It is a blatant lie. Wait, no, it is a hard truth. So yes, you can retheme anything. It is a hard truth. Let's take some examples right here. Let's go to the live streaming chat. Let's just see what ideas people have out there for either ideas of current games that they would retheme, or ideas that were actually games they have rethemed in the past. Let's go right into the comments here with KabukiKid, who says, the more complicated a game is, I think the more difficult it's going to be to retheme it. If a game is involving trading, then that can be rethemed to a bunch of things easily, for instance. So, what is the most complex game that we can think of that we could retheme? How complex can a game be to retheme? I'm sure if Kabuki's theory is correct, which I suspect it may be, then what is the bar? What is the most complex game that you can hit where the theming ability stops? Off the top of my head, I have no idea. So let me know in the comments below and we'll get back to this question in a bit. Physics joins us again to say, if you strip the game to its core mechanics, maybe. But, Mr. Marler, at what point during that process the game, if thematic enough, stops being itself? Oh, fair question. This reminds me of the question where they say, your body is made up of different cells that live and die and are replaced. So what is the famous thought experiment? As cells are replaced with new cells, how long before it's a completely new boat? So I think that applies here. How much of a game can we strip away and replace with a new theme before it becomes an entirely new game? I think that you could strip away the theme completely, 100%, and apply a completely new theme. And as long as the rule set, the mechanisms are still the same, I think it could still be considered, quote unquote, the same game. As long as you're not changing those things about it, I think theme and mechanisms can potentially stand independently on their own from each other. Zachary says, there are definitely games that play thematically. Yes, a fighting game can be reskinned as a different fight, but it's still thematically a fight. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Let's take Yomi, for example. Yomi is an excellent card game that's based on a coin-op fighting game like Street Fighter. So it's like, Yomi is like a card game version of Street Fighter. I think that's fair to say. However, if you boil down Yomi's mechanisms to its core, it's kind of a variation on rock, paper, scissors. So is rock, paper, scissors a fighting game? If rock, paper, scissors is a fighting game, then sure, I believe your theory holds water. But if rock, paper, scissors, the mechanisms that Yomi is based on, is not a fighting game, then you could strip Yomi down to its core mechanism and retheme it as something else using the rock, paper, scissors system. That's not a fighting game, but it would still theoretically be the Yomi rule set. So I'm going to cautiously play devil's advocate there and disagree with you, Zachary, that I don't think fighting games in and of themselves have to remain fighting games. However, other examples of fighting games, let me know, and we'll see if it's universal. Can other fighting games be stripped down and changed into non-fighting games? Or was Yomi the exception to the rule? Let's continue on to a comment from Billy, who simply gives us an example of Carcassonne to The Simpsons. Now, that's fair, Billy, in one respect. I can see that happening. However, I think that's also unfair because any game can be ported to The Simpsons. And I say that out of experience as a thrift store junkie. Every game has been reconditioned and revamped as The Simpsons. I have a pile. Okay, forget it. I'm getting it. I'm getting the pile. Simpsons Monopoly, for example, was in the pile. So Simpsons, Carcassonne to The Simpsons, totally fair example. However, in that vein, anything to The Simpsons could be done, and quite frankly, has been done at this point. Kabuki just follows up with her previous comment mentioning that any trading in the Mediterranean game can be changed into a space trading theme. Case in point, I think, isn't there a new edition of Terra Mystica coming out? Terra Mystica being kind of a civilization trading, getting resources game. And the new edition of Terra Mystica, which looks really cool, by the way, is space themed. And so I think right there we have a prime example that proves Kabuki's theory of trading to space is a possible certainty. That possible certainty? Good job, me. That made no sense. Let's continue on to a comment by Aaron, who says, I did a personal project and recreated the entire Lord of the Rings Fantasy Flight card game into one based on Doctor Who. Wasn't really even that hard, even though the game is really complex. Wow! That is cool! Now we're talking. Here is a practical example of you're taking a fantasy IP to a science fiction IP. If you have posted any pictures or anything of it on BGG, add a link to those in the comments to this video, because I would love to see what you did, how the game keywords and cards and stuff, how extensive of changes you had to make to the card text and everything to capture the new feel for Doctor Who. I'd be really interested in seeing what you came up with. That sounds really like a neat project. Jason Walker points out something that is actually recent board gaming news. Scythe was just recently rethemed with a My Little Pony theme. That's true. That this has kind of been circulating on Twitter and the social media. There's an excellent example. A Scythe, I think we would all agree, is a pretty complex game. And My Little Pony is just about as far removed from the original theme of Scythe as you can get. But it's been done. And I think the person who did that is actually taking suggestions or something for more themes to apply to it. So right there, we talked about the bar of complexity. How complex can a game be before it can be rethemed? Well, definitely Scythe is a complex game, but it's still under that bar. I'm thinking if that bar does exist, it's way higher up there than maybe we first thought. Ow. Toyota Wolf, along with a few other people in the comments now, have pointed out Pandemic, which has been rethemed. You have the little things like Pandemic Legacy and such that retain the general Pandemic feel, but then you have an entire Cthulhu-themed Pandemic that has come out. And it does change some of the mechanisms, some of the rules of the game. It's not just a flat reskinning of the game, but it does feel like Pandemic. They took the core concepts and they tweaked them a little bit. So there you have an example of the industry itself retheming a popular game. And of course, it was rethemed as Cthulhu. Homemaker Hobbies mentions, a game like Scoville would be really difficult to retheme. You would just be changing what was being farmed, but it would still be farming. That's a good point. Scoville, because you are collecting the different peppers. However, the different peppers, they combine in different ways. So I don't know. Again, I'm going to try and see this from the other side of the coin. you could be trying to cure diseases actually, and you could be combining different chemicals in your lab, and going through the field and harvesting could be actually running the experiments. You have to go through, the trials and stuff to come up with the compounds that you create from your experiments, and then combining those together to create different antibodies or medicines and stuff to cure diseases. I'm actually gonna push that a little bit further, Homemaker Hobbies. I'm gonna say that Scoville, while difficult, definitely, I don't think it would have to be locked into the farming type of theme. I think it could be broadened out a little bit more. And our final comment to this episode comes from Sasha, who mentions, while I would agree that you can retheme almost everything, it will not work for every single game. Some games just have mechanisms tailored to the theme. Retheming would just not make sense. I think for the sake of discussion, I would welcome some examples. So we're out of time now, but let me know in the comments below, what are some examples of games? Let's challenge each other. What are some examples of games that are too complex or have the theme too finely ingrained into the game where they could not be rethemed? What is the list of unrethemable games? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're floating around Facebook and Twitter, feel free to post your ideas there, because those are other places to continue this and the other conversations that we have about board games. And before we go, I just wanted to remind everybody that this episode was made possible by viewers just like you who are supporting our Pod Pledge fundraising campaign. Thank you so much to everybody who's supporting it. That has really been helpful in keeping the channel going and growing. But until next time, I've been Chaz Marler, who, along with the YouTube live streaming chat, has been serving up some table scraps. Talk to you again soon. Who asks, all games... Oh, wait, wrong. Right, sorry. Who says, sorry, I didn't think that popped up. I will tell you why. Again, I will tell you this now is the reason why this, what was I going to say? Let me know there as well, because those are great places to continue.